Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is Stefan from Better Brain, and once again we're going live. It's 7 o'clock and I hope you're having an amazing day. Now, today I want to talk about this one thing that can make you gain weight without even knowing about it. And it's not necessarily just about counting calories and constantly going to the gym and exercising. There could be a few things that are actually missing. I'm going to allow all the comments, so I want you guys to get involved. If you have any questions, ask me, because as we know, this is not for me, this is for you guys to understand how do I keep my body healthy before it's too late. And sometimes even when it's too late, there's still ways around it, but I think it's so much better to look after healthy kids than to fix broken adults, right? You know, this is one of my favorite sayings. So guys, yeah, like I said, I want you to ask me questions. I want you to get involved. If I say something that doesn't make sense, just write it in the comments and I'll try to answer after this, because I am trying to influence people's decisions based on not necessarily pain. I want to get people closer to pleasure, meaning I want people to understand what is it feels like to feel good at all time. What is it feels like to have good mental and physical health so that you can enjoy life? Because, you know, chatting to someone yesterday, life is a long time, but it goes quite quickly, right? So it's all about quality time. It's not about how long we live. My dad is tuning in. Hey, Dad. He's the second biggest fan. He used to be first. Now, anyways, let's talk about the topic today. And the topic, of course, is about insulin and insulin sensitivity, more importantly. Some of you have heard of insulin. Some of you know quite a lot about it. But today I wanted to encourage people to find a solution, and naturally, hi Max, and the natural solution as well, to prevent any insulin problems in the future, because it's one of the biggest epidemics in the world. Things like diabetes, things like insulin problems, metabolic syndromes that we probably have to talk about on a different topic. But first of all, what is insulin? Quite simple. What does insulin mean? So you can actually understand what it does to the body. Well, insulin is a very smart hormone that is produced by your body naturally, and it's produced by your pancreas. And the way I describe insulin to people is this. So it gets quite complicated. I'll try to keep it simple and practical. But when we eat food, when we consume food, it goes in your tummy, right? This food then is broken down through many different complex processes that we're not going to go into detail too much. But what happens is when the food is broken down, it produces smaller chains of sugars, right? We usually call them glucose. And glucose is your body's preferred source of energy. So without glucose, your body finds it very tough to use energy. And energy is so important in life. I'm actually thinking of writing a book just about energy, because without energy, everything sucks. You wake up in the morning, you're feeling sluggish. You know, it's like a beautiful sunny day outside and you're like, oh, I just can't be bothered. And energy always wins. You know, when you go to a room and you want to speak to someone, you probably don't want to talk to the person who is just constantly like negative and their energy levels are low, right? You want to speak to the person who is vibrant, who is smiley. They give you energy. But anyways, when we talk about food energy, when you eat food, carbohydrates get broken down into smaller pieces, and your body uses that for energy. So think of it as a little bit like your car uses petrol or diesel to run. If you use really good petrol, then the car is more likely to run better without any long-term problems. So when we talk about energy, that's really important, because what happens next is very crucial. So let's say you've had a sandwich, and then that sandwich is eventually starting to get broken down in your system, in your tummy. And because your body needs the sugar, the energy, the glucose, it needs to go from your bloodstream. So it's entered your bloodstream already. So it goes from your tummy to your bloodstream. It needs to be used for your muscles, for your brain, for your tissues, for you to work properly. So here is the beautiful thing. The body's so intelligent. What happens is this. The energy that, the sugar that's in your bloodstream needs to be taken to different parts of your body. So your pancreas notices that and it starts to release insulin. So insulin is the hormone that basically regulates your sugar levels in your blood. This is where the term sugar levels come in. or sugar levels in your blood. When you go to doctors, sometimes they take blood tests and they say, oh, your sugar levels are high, your sugar levels are low. So that's why it's really, really important to understand how insulin works without going into too much detail. So think of it as like the key to open the door so you can enter, because it's like a key that opens the cell, and the cell then can get flooded with sugar, and then you can have the energy to do whatever you want. Does that make sense? Now, follow me here, because what do you think will happen if you're constantly bombarding your body with sugar? What do you think will happen? Hands up if you think that you'll be full of energy and constantly running around, or hands up if you think, well, if there's too much energy, my body has to keep producing more insulin, but there must be a point in time where that gets really affected, right? And that's where problems start to happen. Even before you have symptoms like diabetes, even Maxes get fat. One of the biggest things is actually weight gain. And I'll explain in a minute what I mean by it's not just about counting calories or just going to the gym all the time. What happens if your body gets bombarded constantly by sugar is that your pancreas just gets fed up of constantly producing insulin, because you get these constant spikes of my insulin is up, so my sugar level is down, but then I have another donut and my sugar levels go up, and then I have to produce more and more and more insulin to do the same job. So what happens to the cells? They just become less sensitive to insulin, which means that the sugar that is meant to be going to your muscles, into your brain, and to the rest of your body just gets stored. Of course, that's another good thing for insulin. It stores sugar, but it can only store so much. So what do you think will happen if you constantly have sugar in your blood? That's right. It creates like a massive cascade of problems for your body, because it just doesn't know how to deal with the sugar. So yes, you can get weight gain. Yes, you can get what we call mitochondrial dysfunction. I'm obsessed with mitochondria because they're the tiny little powerhouses of the body that help with energy production. But actually that gets damaged as well if you have too much sugar in your blood. So this is where we keep talking to people about what you eat really, really, really matters. But we're here to learn how you can improve your insulin sensitivity, not how you can make it less sensitive, because that's when the problems occur. And quite often the problems are silent, but then you start to get weight gain, you start to get sluggish, your mitochondria don't work properly anymore. You might actually find that the overall systemic inflammation in the body is through the roof. And actually a lot of medical doctors now believe that systemic inflammation, so too much inflammation in your body for a long period of time, which we call chronic, is one of the #1 causes of the Western world illnesses. So I don't want to even consider that end of the spectrum. What I want to do is encourage people to make some simple, natural lifestyle changes. That means, which will mean that you'll perform better, you'll have more energy. Because this is the thing, if we use sugar for energy, but that sugar cannot be used anymore because the insulin doesn't work, then of course you'll be feeling sluggish. You're not having any energy. Of course you'll be putting on weight. Because let me ask you this, how many of you know someone or have heard of someone, or you might even be that person that has an amazing diet, eats really well, exercises often, but yet you have like one tiny little bit of food and you put like 10 extra kilograms like this? How many of you know that person? Okay, well, let me ask you this. How many of you know the other end of the spectrum kind of person? So what I mean by that is, how many of you know this person who's constantly eating like all the naughty stuff, ice creams and pizza and sugar and having big meals, never goes to the gym, never exercises, is quite inactive, but still has an amazing physique? How many of you know that person? Exactly. Max is saying, I just sniffed a biscuit and I put 2 pounds on. Exactly. But this is just a perfect example to show you that it's not just about counting calories or just constantly working out. It's obviously a much more complex problem. And what we try to do with insulin is to teach people how to just get the balance, how to balance their body systems, rather than just constantly counting calories. Because here's the thing, right? There's diabetes type 1 and there's diabetes type 2. Diabetes type 2 happens over a long period of time. usually later on in life, diabetes type 1 is usually something you're born with. And it basically means your body can't even make insulin properly. So those kind of people, look it up. This is true. Those kind of people can eat up to 10,000 calories a day and still lose weight. So they're constantly eating, they're feeling hungry, and they're getting skinnier. So insulin is a massive, massive part of how your body works. Now, this is the exciting part. I hope you're with me. I hope I haven't put people to sleep. How many of you want to find out how to improve your levels of insulin and your sensitivity to insulin, or your insulin sensitivity? How many of you would like that? Because it's not a magic formula. It's all very natural, very simple things we can all do. And I hope a lot of you are doing these things already, because you guys want to be obviously in the top 10% of being healthy, vibrant, having energy, smiling, and happy to go to work once the lockdown is down. So here is a few strategies that I use. I'll try to apply to my life on a day-to-day basis without getting too fancy about it. Number one, is something we've talked about already. And if you haven't watched any of my videos, please go and watch them on YouTube, because the number one thing is to hack your sleep. See, it's not, we'll talk about exercise in a minute, we'll talk about diet, but actually balancing your body's metabolic systems and sorting out your hormone levels is so much more important than just counting calories, right? So having quality night sleep can literally make you skinny. Or if you don't have good sleep, it can make you fat. It's proven so many times now. And I didn't really realize how important sleep is until a few years ago, when, you know, you can ask my other half, when I don't get a good night's sleep, the next day I'm sluggish and I'm tired. You're just not you're like a zombie, you're not the same person anymore. So I have loads and loads of health hacks on how to improve your sleep, but more about sleep quality. So go and check out the other videos. The second thing you can do is to have a little physical activity routine. There are so many studies out there that show you how physical activity can improve the sensitivity of your cells to insulin, which is a good thing, because what we don't want to happen is you don't want to get insulin resistant. Emma is saying, I love my sleep. Yes, someone is listening. Awesome. Emma, I want you to tell me how you get a good night's sleep. What are the things you do to get a good night's sleep? Because I've shared loads about my kind of strategies, and I would love to hear if people have some other cool things to do. And you're not allowed to say whiskey, vodka, red wine, all that stuff, because it doesn't help, just before you start typing it all in. Awesome. Let's get back to this, more serious. Physical activity for someone who's not diabetic, the recommendations are this: 5 times a week, 30 minutes at a time. That's it. We've got like 16, 18-hour window of being awake. So what we should look at is spending 30 minutes doing something once a day. No social media before bed. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It's so tough, because when you have your phone there and you're not switching off, all you're looking at is, first of all, screen, which is like the blue light is really bad for us. But the second thing is it gets your mind ticking. And God forbid if you see something that you found really, really funny and you're thinking about it, or if you found something that really upset you and got your nerves all fired up, then your brain just goes into thinking mode. So definitely not social media. Sleep meditation. Emma is like an expert in quality sleep. Awesome. So going back to my recommendation, physical activity. 30 minutes, 5 times a week. 3 of the 30-minute sessions, it's advisable to do some quite intense aerobic exercise. So running, swimming, going for a cycle, brisk walk. Someone said yesterday, walk the dog. So make sure you do that. For those of you who have a dog, it's an amazing way to keep fit and make sure your insulin levels stay steady. And the other 2 sessions is you're more likely to benefit if you do something like resistance training for your muscles. So that's kind of the stuff you see a lot of guys doing in the gym, constantly lifting weights, but actually they're just covering 50% of the picture. So it's all about balance. It's all about balance and moderation, because you don't want to be miserable. You don't want to be spending hours and hours in the gym or constantly counting calories and then feel guilty for I ate something I shouldn't have, because then that makes you unhappy, and being unhappy makes you unhealthy. So it's a constant cycle. And this is why I always talk to people about this better brain formula that I talk about is health should be seen as a bigger picture. It's not just about what you eat. It's not just about your sleep. It's about doing everything in moderation, everything that makes you happy and makes you healthy. So that's number 2. Number 3 is actually reducing the amount of carbohydrates you eat, because if you eat a lot of carbohydrates, Mags asked me a question before the show about white bread or granary bread, brown bread. I actually, unfortunately, would avoid any kind of bread because it's very high in carbohydrates and it's high in sugar and it has grains and gluten and all this stuff is really bad for your tummy. So I would actually, David Griffiths is saying, go to bed at the same time. David, that's an amazing advice because it's exactly what I told people on my podcast when I made one on sleep. Number 1 is actually routine. So well done, you guys are getting this. But yeah, less carbohydrates and more healthy fats. Fat is sexy and fat is good again, believe it or not. It used to be that you used to get told by doctors that fat is really bad and is the problem of all cardiovascular problems. Now we know that bad fat is bad for you, but good fat is actually very healthy for your insulin. So you can eat healthy fats and lose weight. How crazy is that? Healthy fats are things like olive oils, things like avocados, oily fish with omega-3s. So they're the kind of things that I encourage people to concentrate on. And actually improving your soluble fiber as well. I don't want to go too sciencey behind it, but soluble fiber is basically things that it's kind of a carbohydrate, but the body finds it really difficult to break it down. It's very resistant. So it's like chewing on something for hours in your stomach, that your body can't really break down. So it doesn't seem to spike up that insulin, because what we want to avoid is the ups and the constant downs. You want to have a nice, steady increase of, yeah, that's pretty cool. Nice, steady insulin levels. Make sense? Awesome. Guys, let me know in the comments below, what is the biggest thing that you found interesting today? Because what I'm trying to do is talk about practical stuff. I know sometimes I get carried away with all this information, but what we want to do is practical stuff that you can literally apply to your life as of today. So more soluble fibers, please. Soluble fiber are just found in vegetables. That's the best source of soluble fiber. So definitely have a big portion of vegetables next to your quality protein and healthy fats as well. Less carbohydrates like pasta and sugars and processed foods and breads and all that stuff. Making sense? Awesome. The last one I want to talk about today, it kind of goes hand in hand. It's called your microbiota. What the hell does that mean? Your microbiome is basically the collection of bacteria that live in your tummy, which sounds disgusting, but we have more bacteria that are foreign than actually human cells. So to say that we're human is actually not very accurate. We have so many foreign healthy and unhealthy bacteria that live and stay in our gut, and they create vitamins, they break down foods for us, they give us energy. It's a whole new topic. I have to make a podcast about your gut health, but looking after your gut health is important. So there's a couple of supplements that have been found to help, things like MCT oil, things like magnesium, because magnesium is kind of lacking from our soil. And the final thing that has been proven to work quite well, but again, you have to consult with your practitioners and your doctors and things like that, is something called intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. And all that means is you have periods of time where you're eating, and then you have big periods of time when you're not eating. How many of you guys have tried intermittent fasting before? I want to find out, because it's becoming really popular. On and off, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. Personally, I know the benefits. I know my mother-in-law to be, or she calls herself the outlaw, she tried this once and she found some crazy health benefits that were helping her. Like, I think it was not just weight loss, but it was to do with even her night sweats and things like that. So she found it really helpful for a period of time, but it's not for everyone. And it can benefit some people, and it can not necessarily be beneficial for others. So I'm always cautious of intermittent fasting. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm doing a 24-hour fast tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my last meal tonight, and then for 24 hours, I'm not going to eat at all. I do this 2-3 times a year, and once a year, I do a 48-hour fast. which is a whole new ball game. And that kind of has, so what I'll do is I'll actually record it on social media, and I'll be every 3-4 hours, I'll be telling you guys how I'm feeling, what I'm going through. But yeah, intermittent fasting seems to improve insulin sensitivity as well. And I will definitely share with you guys what some people say it makes you grumpy. That is a side effect. That's definitely a side effect. And Emma is saying not hungry. I was initially, I must admit, but then it's weird when your body gets adapted to it, because I have a document actually. I'm releasing like a little ebook in 2 weeks' time. But for you guys, you're so committed. If you want me to send you the book, it's actually my protocol, what I do for intermittent fasting and how I do it and what times and what foods I eat and what foods I don't eat. If you want me to send you that document, it's going live in 2 weeks, but you guys can have it before that. Just don't share with anyone. Just drop me an email or drop me a direct message on Facebook with your email, and then I'll send you the ebook. It's free. It's just like 16, 17 pages thing. And it shows you the benefits of intermittent fasting for those of you who are interested, because it's definitely an interesting area of research. And I love it because I do it every Friday for 16 to 18 hours fast. Someone said earlier, I do it every day. Awesome, Angela. But some people definitely find that it's not beneficial, especially when your body gets resistant to it. But yeah, just drop me, don't drop your emails here. Obviously, I don't want people to see each other's emails, but just drop me a message and I'll send you my little ebook about my protocol of intermittent fasting, which seems to be working really well for me, for fat loss, for weight loss, for feeling more focused. And Emma, to answer your question, actually, your body starts to use fat cells for energy rather than sugar, because if you're not eating, you're not having any sugar. So your brain starts to work better on fat. And that's why you can have a nice body, but also your brain functions really well. So when I used to work in one of our clinics in Essex, in the other clinic, every Friday morning, because I was doing fasting, I was buzzing. I was buzzing to see clients. I had so much energy. People always used to tell me off, like, why are you so happy today? And why are you always smiling and so on? But it's just because your body starts to adapt to using fat as energy, which is much more dense and it has more calories. So yeah, you look better and you feel better. Anyways, guys, I hope you find these videos helpful. If you do, give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Like, you've been sharing this, so many of you, so really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And if you think someone can benefit from it, give them a little comment below, tag them in it. Don't embarrass them too much. And again, love and appreciate you guys. And we'll catch up tomorrow at 7 for our final one for this week. Then we'll have the weekend off. Enjoy the sun. Love you guys. Bye-bye.